Udu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I start everything in the name of Allah. Udu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ya Allah, give us guidance, not just for you, but for me as well. It's very important, we look at each other as mirrors. So inshallah, if I give some good information, it's the reflection is to me first. And inshallah, y'all see a good image in me and you'll see it back in yourself. Inshallah. I had a little bit of an issue with a topic here. I end up with one topic, even though I had like 12. So one ended up with one. It says, started off with, that's not my problem. That was the topic I came up with. I came up with whose responsibility is it anyway, given for the sake of Allah, and a whole bunch of different other names and ideals and concepts. I dabbled with these for a minute to come up with a topic, but that's not my problem. It seemed to ring more more into what I'm going to deal with here. If anyone is not familiar with the organization I work with, it's called Sahaba Initiative. If you don't know what a Sahaba is, this is very important to find out. If you haven't met any of the Sahabas, I understand. It's been a long time. They passed away, alhamdulillah. But we should be able to see the reflection of the Sahabas in ourselves. So some of the attributes of the Sahabas we're supposed to try to emulate. We have the best example, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his Sahabas was the best among men. So when we have this name, Sahaba Initiative, we want it to ring clear what we want to do. When we say the Sahaba, we want you to think of the companions of the Prophet. And we want you to remember the attributes and the characteristics of these great men. And we want you to want to be like them. This is the dream. But when I was coming up with the topic, that's not my problem, it seemed to echo the Muslim conscience today. We have too many issues in our life, so we can't focus on other people's issues because that's not my problem. So we look at other people, and whether you see a problem or whether you ignore the problem or whether you pretend it's not there or you pretend, this is only for them, that's not for us, or, we have social stereotypes. I have a friend that's a Native American, and when I was having a conversation with somebody about Native American struggle in America, they said, well, they got Indian bingos, man. They got plenty of money. They're fine. And it's like, this is a social construct that we have about certain people and their characteristics or their social structure or who they are and what they're supposed to be in the society. But at Sahaba Initiative, we want you to realize that all of the Sahabas of the companions of the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had different attributes and different things to bring to the table. With this different characteristics, different places, different personalities, from the darkest dark to the lightest light, from the Rome to the Abyssinian to the below Abyssinia to Persia. All these different people were the Sahabas. So this is something that we want you to think about. And remember the title, That's Not My Problem, because as I talk about what we do at Sahaba Initiative, I want you to think, what would the Sahabas do if they were faced with some of the problems that we're faced with in our community? And if you're not emulating that ideal or that concept, or if you're not living all those concepts, because there's a lot of Sahabas, so I know we can't take on all the great attributes of all the Sahabas, but pick one or two and take on some of the attributes in which they lived by and the principles that they died by as well. So I want to give you some of the information about what we do at Sahaba Initiative. But while I'm giving you that, I want you to keep saying to yourself, as I give you what we do, think in your head, is that my problem? Because at the end of this discussion, I'm going to tell you some things of how these things affect your everyday walk of life. how these people or these scenarios or these issues that the society has that affects us as individuals and as a group. One of the things that we do is called the 12 Paths to Peace Recovery Meeting. This is a NAAA type of meeting where a group of people come together as a group support. In the Deen of Islam, anything that takes you away from the Deen, I look at as an addiction. This is my personal opinion. If something takes you away from the Deen, if something is more important than your Salat, you have a problem. And we try to bring people back to the Deen in that aspect. So the 12 Paths to Recovery focus on anything that takes you away from the Deen and hopefully realigns you with the concepts in which the Deen hold. We had a spiritual wellness home. This was a home where we put people up who was disenfranchised or had financial difficulties. We gave them a term, we gave them work and assignments to do, and after the work and assignment, we paid some of their rent, and we made sure they had some kind of employment so they can pay the rest. We have mental health services. When I speak of mental health services, it is things in which our community needs, not want. Mental health services. I'm talking about depression. I'm talking about people who are victims of spousal abuse, male or female. I'm talking about people who are victim of social abuse. When I say social abuse, I'm speaking of situations where it might be immigration problem, a family or a loved one is stuck in a country that is at war, and they feel helpless at that time because they can't do anything to help their loved ones. We have a program called the New Muslim Mentoring Program. This program, we reach out to Muslims. Alhamdulillah, we have people who actually came to the center off to the street, don't know what a Muslim is, come in just to get some food, maybe some coffee or some water or something, and have a seat and listen for a few minutes. And then they come back again and again and again. And alhamdulillah, we had at least 3 people within this year that took Shahada at the center. All praises be to Allah. We have a community give back program. This community give back program, we have once a season. So every season there's winter, spring, fall, 4 seasons. Each season we have a complete give back program where we give people hot meals, and according to the seasons, these are the things we'll try to get for them. So in the wintertime, we just did one recently. We gave them blankets, we gave them jackets, whatever the season might need. Hygiene kits, because everyone needs deodorant. You know, if someone that don't have deodorant, you know, we can think that's not our problem. But if he's sitting next to you, you'll think real quickly that it might be, because you'll like to give it to him to help him. Because while you're smelling that, you know, something you could have done to help him. And we have another program monthly where we give back lunches. We just make sandwiches. Very simple. Give sandwiches. Some carrot sticks, some fruit, you know, maybe a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Sometimes we do zabiha and we have steak or some kind of roast beef sandwiches. All halal. Alhamdulillah. I can't give you something I won't eat. So sometimes it's peanut butter and jelly too. So I don't know. I didn't zabiha the honey, you know, or the peanuts. So I don't know. Inshallah. Oh, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. We have Tuesdays and Thursday night coffee and tea night. These nights we take just coffee, tea, and some snacks. And people come after some of the meetings that we have on Tuesday and Thursday, and we just sip coffee, tea, and just a little social moment, you know, alhamdulillah. Another project we do is called Return to the Deen Tours. These Return to the Deen Tours is where we take people in the community, whether they're famous or they have an interesting story, and we take them to different masajids and let them tell people about their story, whether it's a conversion story or a return story. We also have celebrities or somewhat celebrities that go around talking. Like we did a couple things just recently with Terry Holbrooks. If anyone's familiar with him, this is the Guantanamo Bay guard who converted to Islam in Guantanamo Bay and then came to the States. Jordan Richter was the most recent one we did, where a professional skater. He has a very interesting story. I mean, he was on the top of the skating charts. He did X Games and whatever prestige you can imagine he had. And he left that because he wanted to find out and learn more about the deen. And alhamdulillah, he's still embracing this deen after about 15 years now. Alhamdulillah. And we also do, and he was Jewish. Yes, he was Jewish. Alhamdulillah. And his mother and father converted to Islam as well. That's why I said he has and his grandmother. All Jewish. But subhanallah, I mean, you have to hear these stories. I mean, the brother that's telling you this is met the brother personally, and he has a great personality. He's a very good brother, alhamdulillah. And when you hear these stories, it's inspirational. It's very inspirational. When you find out people from different backgrounds converting to this deen, I don't think we appreciate what we have. But inshallah, may Allah guide us. And what we have, a course coming up as well, is we're going to have an art exhibit at the Riverside Masjid. I hope everyone here will attend. Anyone's interested in it, just check on our website. Make sure everyone, take a flyer, and make sure you understand how to donate as well. That's important. Just push the button. Inshallah. Okay. This is the basis of what we do. This is some of the, nuts and bolts of what we do. We have served an average of 80 to 150 people a month. Think about that. 80 to 150 non-Muslims a month. Through our community give backs, through our social services, through all our programs. So once a month, we have at least 150 or 80 people that walk through our doors and receive some type of services from us. This is roughly about 1,000 people per year of non-Muslims who come in contact with Muslims and get a positive experience. 1,000 people a year, 150 to 80 people a month. We also have, with our program, we service about 30 Muslims a month. When I say 30 Muslims, I'm talking about individuals who, whether call in through our phone line and get help or reference to another program like Access California or Uplift, which is another charitable organization, because we do references, or come in for any of our service. Like this month, we have From Crisis to Calm, where we have group discussions about crisis and how to deal with crisis. And at the end of this 30-day service, every Tuesday, at the end of the 30 days of discussing this and going over some of the crises in our lives, at the end of March, we have a doctor that's going to come in and talk about crisis to calm and give people a professional outlook on this. So if you think of 30 people or 30 Muslims a day, we help an average of 365 Muslims. A psychiatrist. Yes. We help an average of 365 Muslims a year. So one a year, one a day. So inshallah, we help one a day. So think in your head, that's not my problem. Right? I keep saying that's not my problem because what I want you to do is think about these numbers. Think about the people you come in contact with every day. Think about 30 Muslims that you come in contact with every day. Think about 150 individuals that you come in contact with every day, right? And think about what services you think they might need. And then think about in your head, think about some of the Sahaba stories. Think about one of the Sahabas who approached the Prophet ﷺ, who said to him, "Give me permission to make zina. Give me permission to make zina." Now, you can all think in your head, haram, 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 haram. But think about how many of our children, how many of our families, how many people we know today who didn't even ask for permission, but it might be engaged in zina. This is why I said, keep thinking in your head, this is not my problem. Because if you're not doing the outreach, if you're not doing the service, you need someone to help you do the service, and you need someone that you can give to so that you can be a part of the solution and not the problem. Because in this society, you will start to see very quickly that your family is influenced by the society that they live in. And while we're saying in our community that's not our problem, our sons, our daughters, our grandkids, our loved ones are influenced by these people who are going to give you problems. Who's going to tell your son or daughter it's okay to do zina? Who's going to tell your son? Everyone remember the hadith about the companions of the prophet whipping one of the brothers, I would like to say companions, for drinking. They nicknamed him Donkey. They was whipping him, and one of the Sahaba said, "May Allah curse you, or may Satan carry you away." And the Prophet said, "Subhanallah," stopped him and said, you don't know he loved Allah and he loves the Messenger." So when you think about this is not my problem, think of someone who, out of the 30 people you come in contact each day, or the 150 people you might come in contact within a month, think of how many of those influences going to influence someone you know to maybe drink a little. How many of those people that you come in contact with will give that negative influence? And how could you, once you realize that these problems that society has affect you every day, affect you one way or the other every day, whether it's in a workplace, whether it's in your schools, whether it's in your everyday walk of life going to the supermarket, you're going to be around these people. And if they're not giving dawah to you, I'm sorry, if you're not giving dawah to them, then they're giving dawah to you. That means if you're not strong in your deen, and if you're not showing your deen or living your deen, they're going to influence you with their deen. Now, all these services that we provide at this current time, it's very minimal. We want to increase our services. But this means we need more finances to do this. We need more people to volunteer. We need more people to get involved. Because if we stay in our closets and say these are not our problems, my kids, alhamdulillah, mashallah, he's a hafiz, or my daughter, alhamdulillah, she got a doctorate, my grandchildren are this, but your granddaughter has to get married to somebody. Your grandson has to marry somebody. Your family members have to engage in business with somebody. So while these people who we see on our outside, who don't come to the masjid, who's not a part of the, I want to use the word clique or crew, but most people will understand, who is not part of the Muslim only group, the ones who actually make salat, who are not a part of that. When you see them, they still need a wife. They still need a husband. They still need a job. They still need help. So remember, when we think and we see someone who's asking for help or need help, that if we don't help them, they're going to help themselves to whatever we have or to whatever they think they want, whether it's to influence our children or whether it's to influence other people. I wanted to make it real brief and short. I want to make sure everyone get a chance to check out our website, Sahaba Initiative. And I want to give a few minutes for anyone who want to ask questions. I have a couple of pamphlets here. If these pamphlets can't answer your questions, feel free to ask me any questions when you see me, or right now if you have a chance. If you have any question. Well, in the 12-step program, they have a program called the NAAA books. In their books, they have the God of my own understanding. Now, as far as the dean is concerned, if we could understand God, we'll bring him to our level. So as Muslims, we don't think that's possible. If God is great, then he can't be on our level. So, inshallah, and the other programs that we have available with the 12th step, we discuss the 12 steps, but we put a more Islamic theme to it. We use a book called Malate Islam, which was a 12-step program designed by another brother who was a Muslim who used Islamic concepts. But what one of the brothers was touching on is the fact that we need drug intervention in our community. If you ever met a convert, because I'm a convert, in our society, we believe that drinking a little bit is okay. This is what society, every store, you'll find, every corner, every store, almost everywhere has liquor. Everywhere have cigarettes. Everywhere have drug paraphernalia. It's all okay in this society. Who sell it or drink it? Who there's what I was expressing is there's liquor stores everywhere, and they sell it to anybody. It doesn't matter Muslim or non-Muslim. So the availability of these things in an Islamic sense makes it very tempting for young people, because if you look at a commercial, they're selling to you two things, and all of it is hawa, or desire. So it's either something that can feed you internally, or the poison that can intoxicate you internally. So this is what they feed you, your lower desire, to escape somehow through some kind of physical pleasure, or escape somehow with a chemical which and gives you some physical pleasure. But our society is very, I would call it a hypersexual society. You can't think of double mint gum without think of two girls riding a bike, twins, beautiful girls. And this is how they advertise. This is how they promote. So if we're talking about Muslim kids who watch TV and play video games, who want to be a part of society, if you don't give them an alternative, then what else do they have to choose from? If we don't provide social services and an outlet and different things for our own children, what do we expect them to do besides assimilate into the culture? And what the culture say is okay, as a Muslim, we can't accept. Any more questions? Well, we try not to be an aggressive form of dawah. When I say aggressive form of dawah, we have brothers who wear thobes and things inside the center. But we talk about Islam. We use the word Allah. We hand out pamphlets. Just to, if the person is questions about some of the things we do, we explain it to them in an Islamic sense. Um, what would you probably call it is a soft dawah. When I say soft dawah, because if you're wearing a thobe, they're gonna ask you why you got a dress on. So it helps. Yes, it's very soft. It's very soft. Uh-huh. It's bad. It's really bad. SubhanAllah, we have a lot of people, and the problem that we really are having now is that the kids usually are too far gone for our program. That's the sad thing. The Muslim kids are too far gone. We can send them to professional helps, and unfortunately, the professional help is mean like an institution where they have to get admitted into like a hospital or something, where they can detox and then be able to get outpatient treatment where they can actually come to our meetings and things of that nature. We're in contact with a couple of organizations, like ISNA created a women's shelter just recently. I think it's ISNA. And things of that nature helps out a lot. We refer them to those type of situation. But we have an issue in our community where we have an abandonment problem. When I say abandonment, we have Muslims who take Shahada and their family abandon them for taking Shahada. And if we're not receptive to them because it's not our problem, then they either go back to what they know, which is the streets and doing whatever they need to do to survive, because if it's not your problem, of course, you can't help them. And we have the abandonment issue with the Muslims who do the real bad haram, and it's an embarrassment to the family. So usually they try to send them to another city, a state, or somewhere where they don't know anyone or they don't know the family, and they hope that, they don't mention their family name when they go and meet other Muslims. And they usually, if they have money, they will give them money to keep quiet. But the drug addiction or the pregnancy or the haram that they're doing is not going to be addressed. Orphans, Islamic orphans, most of the inner cities are Islamic orphans by the Deen of Islam. If your father is not in the home, you're an orphan. So most of the communities that we see is simply because, subhanAllah, this society really needs us. I mean, when I say, yeah. Uh-huh. The kid is orphan, yes. Uh-huh. Yes, orphan. Yes, yes. And when you see inner city kids, this is usually the story. Unfortunately, they're usually orphans. When I say orphan, is the father is not in the home. This creates a problem. There is the orphan where both parents are not there as well. We don't have a specific program deal with an orphan per se, but we do have programs that is a broader brush where we handle the symptoms that an orphan would go through, which is the reinstit, re reestablish them back into society, where we have joint relations with the colleges. So we do offer some help with listing in some kind of training program or some kind of program to get your GED or to advance your education or get a degree in something. We work with the community college and the local Cal States and UC systems to help people get involved or get back into some kind of educational program. So we do have that available as well. Yeah, this is why we have those programs. Like one of the things I was speaking about is Crisis to Calm. What we do is usually we pick topics. We take the professional guidebook and we discuss those topics and then call the professional in so we can help people frame their questions. Because a lot of times when people have problems, they don't know how to even ask the question. So when they go to the professional, the psychiatrist, the counselor, they don't know how to express what the problem is that they're feeling or going through. So one of the first steps is to actually give them the information to ask the right questions so they can get some kind of feedback from the person. Because if you find a lot of people, I know I took a course before called for not programming, networking, computer networking. When I first got in the program, it was a foreign language. I've been in the computer field for probably about 15, 20 years almost. So I thought I knew computers, so-called. But networking, it was a different language. So if you don't know the language, you don't even know what questions to ask a question. So when you're dealing with people with multiple crises, and I use that term because it is multiple crisis. If you have low income and then your other source of income, which is the husband, is gone, then this caused a crisis. The fact that you was low income anyway was the crisis. So people make decisions between feeding or paying the light bill. So when you're dealing with these multiple crises, it's hard to ask for help or help for solutions when you don't even understand what's the problem. So a lot of the courses that we do is first they empower the person with information so they can ask the right questions so they can get some real results in their life. My opinion on that one is this is a very interesting thing because the society, unfortunately, this society was actually developed on drugs. If you when they talk about the slave trade, they'll mention the triangle trade, and when they say the triangle trade, slaves came in, they produced sugar, and the sugar they used to make rum. The rum went back to Europe. Slaves, sugar, rum. Slaves, sugar, rum. Any of the businesses that was in business for themselves, they were called inter- vertical integrated businesses. Vertical integrated business is when you control every aspect of that business. Now, when you have an institution that makes money off of rum, then the institution is not going to try to fix itself. So when we're looking at a social problem, because we can't speak of drugs as an individual problem, it's a social problem. So you would have to eliminate one, the social influence. One, two, you have to make sure the individual would want help, and two is more important than one. If the person wants help, it isn't. It really is nothing but a personal responsibility. To be honest with you, the best results we had is people who wanted to help themselves. Other than that, it's too easy to do. It's a social in the 19 when we have social recession or depression, whichever name they use. People are more likely to involve themselves because the financial strain and pressure that the society placed on, they're more likely to use more drugs. So for I'm sorry I'm not giving you any solution. And the reason I'm not giving you any solution because it's an individual issue. Each individual is faced with different traumas and different circumstances. If you find the person who's willing to help themselves, then that's really my motto. I help those that help themselves because there's nothing I can do for a person who don't want to stop doing drugs. And there's no way we can stop them. Yes, I understand, but when I was framing the the response, I was expressing it's a very difficult problem because most people who do drugs reoccur and do drugs again. It's the only framework that ever works is the person's own self determination. Is no magic wand that no one came up with so far. There's a couple institutions we can. If you talk to me afterwards, I can tell you about programs where they have in like Australia and other places. These are some organizations that have achieved better results than others. But when you're talking, once again, we have a social construct that is fueled by people's drug consumption. So it's really hard when you're working against a society that shows you the only way to enjoy yourself is to have a beer while you're watching the Super Bowl. Yeah. So the one of the coined phrases was an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Yeah, it's better than a pound of cure. And I usually frame it a little bit different. Usually I frame it an ounce of pain and suffering now, or taking out your wallet and donating to organizations that actually support this or support this effort, will save you millions later. A drug cycle, what we're speaking about is a drug cycle. What he's alluding to and what he's suggesting here is hopefully catching them before they get to that problem. The drug cycle is very dangerous because we are very adaptive creatures. And once you have programmed the individual for the reward of the drug, it won't be anything that will stop them from going through that cycle to get the drugs. This includes robbing them from their own parents, hitting their own parents, stealing from friends and family. It's a very ugly thing. And the cycle is so, we have a thing called the reward system in our mind, in our brain, how it operates. And what he alluded to is the reward system is usually when a person is young, is not developing. and they're looking for the love, the attention, the acceptance. These drugs are released in your body naturally. Every drug that you have on the market is releasing a chemical that you naturally have. So you can go lift weights, exercise, and you'll create adrenaline, serotonin, you'll get a euphoric feeling, and you'll feel good. The same way when you're around a group of people who love you and care for you, they give you that same release. Now, what the problem usually happens is a person is have a deficiency in some of these chemicals now. Now that deficiency is because usually when a child is developing, if they wasn't feeling enough love and attention, feeling of place and belonging, or a trauma took place in their development or after their development, that hinders the drug releases that can give you feelings of belonging or feelings of compassion and love. If either or happens, they're more susceptible to drug use. This is, ongoing study that a lot of the psychiatrists and psychoanalysts are dealing with right now, because they're finding that people who attach to drugs now are usually experience some kind of trauma sometime in their life. So this trauma gives them a depletion. They call it serotonin depletion. And when you're talking about like methamphetamines and different things like this, where they're craving that feeling of belonging and the drug gives them that feeling. So yes, it's a deadly cycle, and if we can catch the kids when they're young and give them feeling of love and place and security, and let them know it'll be all right, even as adults, when these people who are addicted in that cycle, this is really what they're looking for. But the drug give it to them, so you can give it to them, and this is what we try to give them: a safe place to come. Because security, whether we know it or not, is a huge issue. If a person been assaulted, they don't feel safe anymore. If a person experienced some kind of trauma as a kid, then they need a safe place to feel love and to love people. So this is one of the things that we try to provide: a safe place for a person to heal and grow. So when they come to the center, regardless of what their circumstances are, we try to let them feel welcome, a part of our family. And if they feel they need to leave, they can leave. No one's going to lock the door on you. If you want to stay, you can stay until we close, and then, everyone leaves. We give everything set out so they understand the structure. And when problems arise, which it will arise, we try to get them to somebody who's a professional, because that's very critical. Because no matter what the situation is, you need a psychiatrist or someone in there who can give them that safe place where they can tell them all their secrets, all the problems, and let it go. So when they face with real trauma, real problems, and real crisis, we have to have professionals there that they can actually talk to. Any more questions? Because it's not their problem. That's why I started the thing with that. That's really the whole point, because we don't feel the attachment to the community at large because they're not Muslim. Same way the Jews did it. They said we can charge the Christians interest, and they actually fund some of the crusades that went against Muslims. So, I mean, we say it's not our problem, but it affects us every day. So this is the reason the Muslims don't, as a group, we have organizations that are trying, alhamdulillah. But unfortunately, our organization is really grassroots. When I say grassroots, I mean we don't have a multinational corporation trying to help people getting funds from any government entity as of yet. We are applying for grants now, but that takes time. You got to be in operation for a certain time for them to really fund your organization. But before you do that, you really need your community support to actually make it happen. Most businesses die within what, 5 years? 3. I was gonna before I touch on that, I was gonna touch on the other concept that you mentioned about poor people doing drugs. It's a misconception. Everybody does drugs in this society. If you, the president joked about doing cocaine. Was it George Bush? Clinton smoked weed. I remember he said he didn't inhale. Yes, but I mean, this is the national leaders here. George Bush actually admitted to doing cocaine. As a matter of fact, his daughters got arrested with drugs in the car and drunk. So I mean, I'm sorry, but we can't let these be our children's idol. This was President Betty Ford, President's wife, Betty Ford. Yes, yes. Alcohol drugs, drugs and alcohol. A lot of the and suicide. One of the things that when we talk about mental health, and I'm gonna mention this because he said suicide. It is. But it's our problem because we're not presenting it. And this is why I said we need to really support this organization and organizations like this, because if you giving cash to any other organization, alhamdulillah, but the work that we do, we're in the use the parable, parallel. We're in the trenches, digging the trench. And the people are actually going to try to charge us. And this is the jahal that's going to come at us directly. So we're in the trench. We're digging the trench right now, and hopefully it helps people. But if we don't get your help, then it's not going to work out, because without finances, this won't happen. Right now, I wanted to touch on no one in our organization make a penny. No one. From the top to the bottom. This year, we finally got interns, and we did that to help students get involved in the organization. And we give them a stipend for helping us. So if you wonder where your money goes, it goes to keep the lights on, it goes to get trays, to get toilet paper, to get all the things that the facility needs. We will have to have staffing after this year. We can't operate. We can't even expand until we get some people with paid positions. So if you don't fund it, we'll disappear. And maybe somebody else will take up the slack, but most likely in San Bernardino, no one cares because it's not our problem. Most of us will move out of San Bernardino if we can. Yes. Yes, subhanAllah. It's hard. Any more questions? Zakallah Karu, I appreciate y'all for letting me come out and talk. Like I said, if you have any questions, make sure you check on our website, Sahaba Initiative. And remember to donate, because the only way we can make this happen is with your support. Zakallah Karu again, and I wish all y'all the best, and may Allah give us hidayah and keep us away from the haram and give us shifa as well. Ameen.